What's up guys, this is Twice, and today I'm going to be showing you what is probably one of my favorite decks, if not my favorite deck, to play, and that is Angel Feathers. Today I'll be bringing you a Crimson Impact Metatron build, because, Metatron really is like probably the most competitive deck that you can run. There's Cosmo Healer, but as far as usefulness is concerned, I think in English, at least right now, Metatron is the Angel Feather deck. You could also have one on Shamseal, but Metatron is extremely good. So today, I'll be starting off with Crimson Heart Nahas. Now this is the starter. This is the thing that makes everything happen, as you'll see later. But if you want to run Metatron, if you already have Metatron deck, you know how important this card is to the entire strategy. Now on the trigger lineup, I run 4 Happy Bell no-seals. Now, standing in Angel Feather isn't really as important as switching the damage, but that's exactly why I run no-seal. Because what no-seal does is you put him into the soul, and you put one card from your hand into the damage zone, and then take one card out. So, it's just a really good way of getting a boost. Plus, the standing has come in handy. It gives the deck a little bit more offensive power. So I'll just put these right over here. Next, I run 4 critical hit angels. Now, I've seen decks that run 8 criticals before, and although I like the idea of running 8 criticals, I haven't really needed it as much. This deck, if you can do things right, has enough offensive power to where you don't really have to run 8 criticals, but, having 4 is just as good. Plus, what's great about this one is, you put it into the soul, it gives 3,000 power to any unit. So, just a really useful critical trigger. Let's put these right over there. Next, I run 4 draw triggers, Fever Therapy Nurse. This card is basically a staple. It came out in set 9, so it kind of replaced the old draw trigger, but it has the same ability that Aphrodite and Baruch have, which is when it's in the damage zone, you can flip it, so basically counterblast it, and give 3,000 power to your Vanguard. It kind of helps because, first of all, it gives you something that you would want to put into the damage zone, and not to mention, it really sets up Metatron for like endgame, or any Vanguard for endgame. So it's a pretty good draw trigger to have. So I'm just gonna put all these right there. And I actually used to run 8 draw triggers, but the deck was way too defensive. Like, I realized a little bit later, just, Angel Feathers are all about the switching. You gotta do all the switching to get the offensive power. So I was like, alright, we gotta make a big change here. But this card, Sunny Smile Angel, it's basically Lozenge Magus for Angel Feathers. It has the Forerunner ability, and when it boosts, it gives an extra 3,000, so that's a 6,000 booster, and it's a heal trigger. So what's great about these things is that your heal triggers can keep going back in your deck. I have healed 4 times in one game because of this heal trigger, because it kept going back to my deck. And, it's crazy. So, Sunny Smile Angel, I don't know if they're coming out with another heal trigger, maybe for Celestials, but I don't know, I think I would maybe want to still run Sunny Smile just because she's so useful of a trigger. On to the grade 1s, we have Crimson Mind Baruch. So this card is exactly like Fever Therapy, the draw trigger. When it's in the damage zone, counterblast it, and you give 3,000 power to your Vanguard. So this is the grade 1, and I'll explain how the Superior Ride works in just a minute. But, yeah, it's a good card. It's a 7k booster, so it's always useful. And I do run 4 of them, because as we'll see later, getting the Superior Ride for this deck is really important early on. Then you gotta run My Little Pony. You gotta run 4 of these My Little Ponies. Because this card, along with like Million Ray Pegasus, which is the grade 2 version, it's just raw power. Yeah, and this deck is so good at switching cards in the damage zone that pretty much guaranteed to always get a good amount of power with these things. So I always run 4 My Little Ponies. Okay. Now, Burst Shot Bethnail. He's the 8K booster. I used to run 4 of him, but I put it down to 3 because I needed more of Thousand Ray and Baruch. So, I mean, he's still good to have because with Metatron, you're going to want 2 cards in your rear guard that you can switch out who are not going to get a boost from cards switching out of the damage zone. That way, you know, you're not wasting cards that can get a boost. But having Bethnail on rear guard, especially supporting Metatron, because when Metatron attacks, she gets 3,000 power. So that's 13 plus 8, so she'll have 21,000 in that column. So Bethnail's a really good card to have backing Metatron. And again, he's good fodder for the switching. So I do run 3 of him. You can run 4. I mean, again, I prefer to run 3 just so I can make room for all the other grade ones that I need. But yeah, he's really useful in this deck. Then, of course, you got to go 4 Pure Keeper Requiels, the perfect guards. I used to run 3 of these, but again, I used to have a more defensive deck. So the problem with 4 perfect guards, as I've always seen, is that, you know, they can kind of get in the way, because they still require you to discard 1 card in order to activate their ability. So, I don't know. But having 4 perfect guards, like I've said in the past, it depends on what deck you're facing, but it's always helpful to have that defense against, like, you know, if Dragonic Kaiser Vermilion, the end, is going Ultimate Break on you, and you really just can't, if you can't guard your whole front row, you at least want to make sure that you can protect your Vanguard. So it's always important to run the perfect guards in any, like, 3 to 4 at least. Alright, on to the grade 2s. This is the final card of the ride chain besides Metatron. It's Crimson Drive Aphrodite. So the way that the Superior Ride works, it's actually based on Nahas's ability. What happens is when you have Aphrodite on Vanguard, and when you have Baruch on Rearguard, with Nahas on Rearguard too, then you can use Nahas's ability, pull both Baruch and Nahas into the Soul, and then you Superior Ride from your deck Crimson Impact Metatron. So I always run 4 Aphrodites. Because again, getting Twin Drive on the second turn is so helpful in any deck, and being able to call grade 3s and already set up, you know, make sure that you're planning your limit breaks, planning your damage, planning your guard. Having the grade advantage on your opponent is so good in this deck, really just in any deck. So yeah. Then we move on to the Love Machine Gun, No-CL. Some people like to run Battle Cupid No-CL. What his skill is he's grade 1. He's the grade 1 version of the No-CLs. When he is guarding, after he's put from the guard circle into the drop zone, you can put 1 card from your hand into the damage zone and then take 1 card out. So basically what Happy Bell and this guy does. But they all do it in different ways. Happy Bell goes into the soul, the other one goes from the guard circle. This guy, when he's placed on the rear guard, you do that. And what's great about him is that he works really well with Metatron. Because think about it. With Metatron's ability, you don't have to take back 2 different cards on rearguard. You can keep the same card. You just have to put them in first and then take 2 face-up cards, which they will be. So what I like to do with Love Machine Gun is place him, use his ability, give 2,000 boost to my guys, then use Metatron, and that's, you know, switching 2 cards out, replace him so I get to use his ability again. I just switched out 2 more cards, so that's 4,000 power to cards that get boosts. And then I use his ability again, so that's another 2,000. That's 8,000 power to all of my boosters, or like my Million Ray Pegasus or my Chief Nurse Shamseal, in 1 turn. So, although I only run 2 of him, you really only need to run 2, because, I mean, if you play him right, he can be pretty resilient. On to the big My Little Pony, Million Ray Pegasus. Again, he's just a card that, you know, you switch 1 card in the damage zone, he gets an extra 2,000 power. So I do run 4 of him, because, I mean, he's a grade 2, so he can intercept, and again, he's good power. And then I run 1 Gatling Shot Barbiel, because unlike in Nova Grapplers, which, like I said, needs power and needs standing power, in Angel Feathers, you don't really need that as much because the cards give themselves power, but having this 1 10k you know, he's helped out. He's come in handy a couple of times. If it's like the second turn and I can't switch out yet because I haven't gotten the superior ride or something, or I just don't have a limit break or I don't have a no CL, just having the power, a 10k Vanguard to defend with, I mean it's come in handy. So I do run just one of him. All right, on to the grade 3s. I run 2 the Phoenix Calamity Flames. She's from set 6, and I think most decks that I've seen run at least 2 Calamity Flames, because she's basically got the same ability as Million Ray Pegasus here. Switch one card in the damage zone, she gets an extra 2,000 power, and that's during either player's turn for all of those abilities. So she can have both offensive and defensive power, but she's a really good card to have on rearguard along with Metatron. Just any of those cards work, and I really like Calamity Flame. It's kind of come in handy a couple of times, so I'll just put those over here. Now this card has been kind of a center of controversy in this deck, whether or not I wanted to keep running him. Drill Bullet Geniel. Now here's why I keep 2 of these in here, and it's for a very good reason. When he attacks a Vanguard, he gets 2,000 power. It's a pretty simple ability, but again, he's just like Bethnal. He's fodder for Metatron's Limit Break, and he's a grade 3. So even though I'll be switching him out, I can put him right back, and, if I have like a 1,000 Ray Pegasus behind him, that's going to be 9,000 power that he gets. So that's a 21k column when he attacks a Vanguard. So that extra 2,000 power gives him just enough of an edge to like put your opponent to another 5,000 to guard. And that's what's really important. So I do run 2 Drill Bullet Genials. I might switch one out for another Metatron, but yeah, I'm not quite sure yet, so I'll just put him over here. Then you got your Chief Nurse Shamsil. She's from set 7, Rampage of the Beast King. And it took me a while actually to get one of these things. I was planning on ordering one for Amazon, but then a friend of mine and we went to our shop and we got a box, and she was in there, so I was like, well, I don't have to order that now. But basically, if you don't know what Shamsil does, you can actually make a deck kind of based on her as well. So what she does is she has a limit break, and when she attacks a Vanguard, you basically do the same thing for like no CL, where you take one card from your hand and put it into the damage zone, and that's pretty much how that works. And then you take one card from the damage zone and put it into your hand. But she gets 2,000 power. She's another one of those cards that benefits from that. So aside from being a really good Vanguard if I don't have Metatron, she's also really good to set up all the other cards that I have. So if I don't have Metatron, I have Shamsil. There are whole decks that are based around Shamsil because she's her own utility, and that's really where her usefulness comes in. Now we move on to the headliner, which is Crimson Impact Metatron. This card is so good for Angel Feather, because, it's focused around exactly what Angel Feathers do. They focus on the damage zone. So what Metatron does is limit break. You take 2 of your rear guards, you put them into the damage zone face up, and you take 2 cards from the damage zone and you put them onto rear guard, but they have to be face up. So what's great about this is that you can use the same cards. It's kind of like with all the no-seals, or really any ability. You can put the same card in the damage zone and take it back to your hand. So you're not really losing anything. But if you play this right, Metatron can give everything a really nice 4,000k boost. Not to mention she has the other ability where, 3,000 power when she attacks. I wish she had 11,000 power. I think a lot of people do, but it's not really, that hasn't been too big of a deal. So I do run 2 Metatrons. I might run 3. I know a lot of people like to run 4, but I like to have the diversity with my grade 3s. So yeah, that's my Angel Feather build. It's been pretty good. I used to have a totally different build than this one, but it was way too defensive. It had way too many draw triggers. It relied way too much on, getting defense and slowly building up for Metatron. It just didn't gain enough momentum. But this deck has been a lot more useful. Sorry, those are my blinds. That's the reflection. But anyway, I really like Angel Feather. A lot of the people that I know at that card store love Angel Feather too, so I'm glad that it's a deck that's getting a lot of attention. Anyway, I love this deck, and I hope you guys do too. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.